Welcome to the Discover Montcalm Podcast, where we're going to take a look at the communities, the businesses, the attractions, and the people that make up Montcalm County. Here is your podcast host, Duane Weed.
Welcome to episode 62 of the Discover Montcalm Podcast. Before I go out on location on this one, I want to take a moment and thank our sponsors. JR from West Michigan Technology and Design Solutions. They do our website hosting. They do a lot of the technical sides of what brings this podcast to you. And I just want to say thank you, JR. And anybody looking for IT and web hosting services, West Michigan Technology and Design Solutions is the company that I use for hosting all of my customers' websites as well. And Jody from Busy Bee over just south of Stanton. They do embroidery and signs and vinyl and a whole bunch of things over there. Jody, thank you so much for everything that you provided to the Discover Montcalm podcast. And a shout out to my company, DW Video. You can go to dwvideo.com. We do production for business, industry, and consumers. Yes, I'm the guy that transfers the old VHS and the old 8mm film to digital. They're great gifts any time of year. Episode 62, I'm going on location to the Running Wild Alpaca Ranch in the Pierson area. And you can find Running Wild Alpaca Ranch on Facebook and check them out. This is a really interesting business that I found here in Montcalm County, and I needed to discover it. So Duane, take it away on location. Hello, my name is Duane. I'm the host and producer of the Discover Montcalm podcast, and we are in the southwest corner of Montcalm County in Pierson Township at the Running Wild Alpaca Ranch, and I'm here with Kristine Lynch. She's the owner, and if you can kind of see behind us, we have some of her family, some of her friends here, and we're going to talk about alpacas. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Where did you go to school? Where did you grow up? And how did you find your way to Montcalm County?
Okay, so I grew up in Niles, Michigan, and I went to school in Mount Pleasant. And after that, I got a job in Grand Rapids, where I eventually met my partner, Bill. And he has a family cottage on Big Whitefish Lake, and they've been there his entire life. And so when we started looking to purchase a property together, we did not intend to move this close to Big Whitefish Lake, but this property was available, and it was 15 acres. It had 4 outbuildings. He's a mechanic and has a big interest in old cars, and so we thought, we couldn't pass this place up.
I guess my number one question would be, what inspired you to get with alpacas?
So when we bought this place, I intended to just get a couple of horses, and that didn't happen right away. So I was standing up at the house one day looking out over here at the barns, and I thought, well, maybe I can do something that makes some money for the farm. And I didn't really know what, because I wasn't going to have pigs or cows or something that we would have to slaughter for meat. And so I was talking to my brother, and he said, well, maybe you should get some alpacas. And I didn't even know what they were. And he said, they're great. You use them for their fiber and their fleece and everything. And I said, okay. So a few days later, I was looking on Craigslist, and I came across somebody who was selling some alpacas, and they had pictures posted, and they're adorable, as you can see. And so I went and met with who's now my friend and fellow alpaca owner, and I fell in love with them. So a few days after that, somebody told me that there was a herd for sale in Howard City, and so I went and bought them.
And that's how it all started.
Yeah.
For those of us that don't know much about alpacas, can you give us a kind of a rundown of their makeup and what makes them different than other animals?
Sure. So alpacas are camelids, which of course are in the same family as llamas, but llamas are much bigger. So our alpacas here, probably our biggest one weighs about 170 pounds, and llamas weigh around 250 to 350, 400 pounds. So they're very much taller and bigger. You can use llamas for their fleece as well, but they're used more for pack animals, whereas alpacas are raised specifically to use their fleece.
Okay. You mentioned before we got started that a lot of, and you said guys,
Yeah.
there's usually two questions that you're asked when they come to the farm here or the ranch
Sure.
to take a look at things. What are those two questions?
Can you ride them and can you eat them?
So how do you answer that?
Well, first of all, being that they're 170 pounds, you certainly can't ride them because you would break their backs if you
Right.
got on them. They are used as pack animals. You can teach them to pack, but they can only carry about 50 pounds.
Okay.
You can also teach them to draw a cart, like a little mini horse, so they can do that as well. As far as eating them, you can eat them, obviously. They're an animal and they have meat. And in Peru, where they're originally from, they are eaten. It's part of their regular menu in Peru. They call most of the males because not every male is a breeding male.
Okay.
Here in the U.S., that happens much less. There are some people that cull their animals to eat. We do not. So our animals are here with us for life, just like any other pet.
You mentioned earlier that you wanted to do something that you could make some money. How and what is the process that you go through here to use the llamas to make money? What are some of the things that you do?
So we process their fiber. Here in the U.S., there isn't a mass market like there is in other parts of the world, or a commercial market for alpaca fleece. It's all cottage industry. And so I have our fleece made into either yarn or roving. And roving is what spinners use to turn into yarn, whereas obviously the yarn is its own thing. I make scarves, I wet felt with the roving, I do weaving, a little bit of knitting, and then I also have a commercial product line that I get from Peru because Peru has a commercial market.
Okay. So you have a storefront, an online presence?
I do not, actually. I have a store here at the farm. We do a couple of farm tours a year, open houses, and then I open a pop-up Christmas store in Cedar Springs every year.
So look for your Facebook page
Yes.
to find out where that pop-up store is going to be because it might change year to year.
Exactly.
And we don't want to send people in one place when
Right.
you're somewhere else. How do you manage the herd? And what I mean by that is, breeding and that type of thing. Are you doing breeding here? How are you maintaining your herd?
So we're sort of at the end of our breeding business. I have a business partner in Grand Haven, and these are all boys, and she has all the girls. And so we would bring them together to breed, and we have a few animals bred for next spring. We also show nationally, and so we take the animals all over the place for fleece shows, and we have done very well in the past. But as I said, we're sort of at the end of that, so we'll maintain the herd for as long as they're with us, obviously.
Right.
And they get shorn once a year. A really interesting fact about alpacas is that because they're from the high mountains in Peru, they actually are super efficient with their feed. And so I feed 14 alpacas the same amount of hay and grain that I feed 2 horses every day.
Wow.
Yeah, so super efficient.
What are some of your goals for the ranch today and moving forward?
At this point, we really are just in a retirement kind of phase. So the goal is to keep all of the animals healthy and to continue using their fleece. One of my projects when I started with the fleece and to prove that you don't have to cull animals at a certain age was that thirds, by thirds I mean the blanket is their first cut and the legs are their third cut. But as the animals age, their entire bodies become third cut. And because
Because it takes longer.
well, it's not as soft.
Oh, okay.
So as they get older, the hair grows more coarse.
Okay.
So my pet project was to prove that animals at all stages of life could promote and be part of the money making of the farm. So my thirds project is a wet felting project where I take all the thirds and I get them made into bats. And I'm going to make things like saddle pads and rugs, dog beds, and those types of things.
So there's quite a bit of products that can be made from
Yeah.
the fleece.
Yep.
So after they get through the winter, and
Yep.
I take it they handle the winter just as fine as most other animals?
Yeah, so they're actually better in the winter than they are in the summer. So where they're from, the temperatures range from like 30 degrees to 70 degrees. So they're actually in more danger in 80 or 90 degree weather from sunstroke than they are
Oh, okay.
in the colder weather.
You open up your ranch a couple times a year, but I'm sure there's people that would want to come out. How do you handle that?
So we are open by appointment, and we have small groups come out, either family groups, that type of thing. We also do school groups, homeschool groups, and we also work with Hope Network to come out to the ranch and learn about the animals.
So you're giving back to the community
Yeah.
by offering opportunities for people to learn more about what's going on, which I think is great. Is there any question that I haven't asked you yet about this that you're going, oh, I'd love to touch on this?
No, not really. I think we're covering it.
I'm going to change topics just for a moment here because it's called Discover Montcalm. And you've been here for a while, and I know we keep looking over as one of them gets closer
Right.
to the camera, but you've been in Montcalm County for a while.
Yeah.
In your opinion, why should someone discover Montcalm County?
Oh, there's so much here. I mean, not just all of the farming, the agritourism,
Yeah.
but also there's great restaurants, there's great places to stay as far as rentals and that type of thing. We have so many great lakes, to do everything on, all sports lakes, and also kayaking in the rivers and everything. We have a wonderful county.
People want to find out more information about you. You have a Facebook page. What is the Facebook page?
Running Wild Alpaca Ranch.
So just look up on Facebook, Running
Yep.
Wild Alpaca Ranch. Check them out. You've got a phone number?
Yeah, 616-916-6952.
One more time with the number.
616-916-6952.
And Running Wild Alpaca Ranch on Facebook. You can check them out. You can follow them. I'm sure you offer posts here and there.
Yep.
So I just want to thank you for taking time, opening up the farm, the ranch for us today. And you told me there was a difference for, and I guess I grew up around here. I'm used to it. But one last thing, what's the difference between a farm and a ranch?
Generally, the difference is that a ranch has animals and a farm is more of a cash crop kind of place.
Okay. And that's what when I came in, I said, how do you want me to best describe this? And then you kind of gave me an education, which is exactly why I'm doing the Discover Montcalm Podcast. You can follow us on Discover Montcalm Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. You can go to discovermontcalmpodcast.com and check out all the episodes, and just keep giving us information. Give us contacts on who around the county that we could go out and talk to, so that we can unveil some of these really neat little gems within our county. We're here at the Running Wild Alpaca Ranch in the Pierson area. Remember to buy and shop locally.
Connect and subscribe to Discover Montcalm Podcast at discovermontcalmpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Discover Montcalm Podcast. To be featured in an upcoming show, contact Duane at 231-250-9624. Remember to subscribe at discovermontcalmpodcast.com.